You're listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live. Hello, welcome to Garibaldi Red. Nottingham Forest are on the road again in the Premier League on Saturday as they head to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to take on Spurs, who are fresh from a very disappointing night in the Champions League. So maybe, just maybe, there's some hope for Forest on the road at last. We're going to discuss that with Greg Mitchell, but first of all, we're joined by Football London's Rob Guest. Rob, thanks for joining us. You well?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good man, good man. And just saying before we started, you were probably very busy after last night. What's going on with Spurs? They threaten to be a good team and then they become a bit Spursy. What's going on?
It's been terrible, especially this past week as well. It's just summed up the season, really. 2 cup exits, a defeat against Wolves as well in the Premier League, and that was a really good opportunity to, build a 6-point lead in the race for the top 4. And then last night was just a huge, huge disappointment. You couldn't tell Tottenham needed to go and, score the goals to go through in the Champions League. It was just such a flat performance, and it's just left major questions over the club going forward, and then also over Antonio Conte's future at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Does it feel like, from Forest's point of view, does it feel like, a good time to go there? Is it one where it might be a bit toxic on Saturday if things go badly from a Spurs point of view? Yeah,
I think it probably is a good chance for Forest to go there and get something, because confidence is just so low at the moment. We were speaking to Harry Kane post-match in the mix zone, and he was saying like the Sheffield United defeat was like a dagger through their hearts, really. And obviously, if they'd have won that, they'd have had momentum to go into the Wolves game and then also the AC Milan game. Everything's just so low and on the ground at the moment. So I think there's a really good opportunity for Forest to go there and get something, because I think a lot of fans are probably just already counting down the days until the end of the season now. It's just got that bad recently.
I've watched Spurs a few times this year, and they're not boring, but it kind of feels like they just say, I said this on our podcast on Monday, they just say to the front three, whichever ones it is, go and win us the game, and we'll just try not to concede. And are the fans a bit fed up of that with the football as well as the results?
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone wants, fast football on the front foot, just looking to attack all the time. Spurs were really good under Mauricio Pochettino, really good brand of football, up towards the top of the Premier League, and it's just totally different under Antonio Conte. Very pragmatic, defensive first and foremost, and then, looking to hit teams on the counter. At times, that was very much the case at Nottingham Forest back in August at the City Ground. I thought Forest played really well that day. Spurs struggled, but managed, to get the 2 goals. And I think you can accept the performances if you're getting the results. But if you aren't, then that's when the question, then it's not the football Tottenham fans want, really. It's not ideal at the moment.
Does it feel like Conte's on his way out, but not before this weekend? Do you think he's going to go in the short term at some point?
Yeah, very much had a feel of, 2 parties last night about to go their separate ways. Really had a feel of that. I think he will go at some point. It's just a question of when, and when Daniel Levy makes this decision, because at the moment they're in a position where there's nothing really to play for now except for the top 4, because they're out of both cup competitions. So they could really potentially just amble on now for the next 12 games or so. There's still a lot to fight for. So it's whether Daniel Levy wants to make a change now or just persist with how it's going at the moment. So yeah, it's just not great, to be honest.
Then you've got Richarlison, who I don't think Forest fans have got too much time for after his showboating at the City Ground. Him coming out last night and saying the season for him's been shit. That's not a good sign, is it, of dressing room harmony? Clubs that are doing well, that's not what you really said, even if a player's frustrated.
No, we were in the mix zone when he was speaking to, I think it's TNT Sports Brazil, and we managed to get the transcription. Yeah, like you said, it's just like really explosive, something we probably didn't expect. And Richarlison's not had a good season, really. Certainly not justified that £60 million price tag. injuries haven't helped. There's been times where obviously the likes of Son Heung-min and Dane Kulusevski are ahead of him in the pecking order. And even though they're struggling, Richarlison's finding himself on the bench, and I think it probably just all came to a bit of a head for him last night when he was named on the bench, because he was saying basically he did a fitness test the day before, and they said if he passed that, he would be in the starting 11 against Milan. And then obviously he wasn't. There was no explanation. So he's not impressed at the moment. And yeah, as you said, it's not like the sign of a team with a really good harmony in the dressing room.
The other one I wanted to ask about before we let you go in terms of players who haven't had a chance is Jed Spence. Forest fans love him. I don't think there's any prospect of him coming back to Forest anytime soon. Obviously, he's out on loan at the moment. But what's gone on with Jed? Was it just the case they just didn't think he could defend, or what?
I think Conte was just very reluctant to put him in. I think he made it clear in the summer that it was a club signing rather than one of his signings. And I think Jed played 41 minutes across 6 appearances. And Tottenham fans were desperate for him to play football, because I think everyone saw how well he played at the City Ground last year. Obviously played a massive role in helping you return to the Premier League. And he just seemed tailor-made for this right wing-back position where Tottenham have had a lot of problems. And yeah, just Conte clearly didn't fancy him, really. I think the minutes show that. And he's gone on loan to Rennes. He's getting regular football under his belt now. I think he's started well. I know they lost the other day against Marseille, but it sounds like he played really well. So he's getting the minutes under his belt that he requires, and hopefully can come back next season and make an impact what will probably be under a new manager.
Last question before I let you go and let Greg in, because people are speculating he's actually a waxwork in the background. Eric Dier's in my fantasy team, stupidly, and he's been dropped. Is he actually going to start on Saturday?
I imagine he will.
I shouldn't transfer him out then.
Well, he didn't play against AC because he was suspended. And he didn't play the week before against Wolves because I think basically they were just preparing the 3-man backline for this AC Milan game. Must have not played together as a partnership beforehand. So, yeah, keep him in your fantasy football team. I don't know about clean sheets, though, the way things are going.
Well, Forest only scored 3 goals, but I'll talk to that on the road. I'll talk to Greg about that and I'll let you go. Rob, thank you very much appreciated. I'll let you get back to your busy day.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Rob. See you later.
Bye. Right,
Greg Mitchell, you're not a waxwork. How
I
are
swear
you, by the way? I didn't even introduce you because I know like chasing Rob and another colleague. He's like, I've got 10 minutes. So I was like, right, yeah, get you in. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm good. I swear you do this only to get little fantasy football tips. So it's always interesting to watch.
I did a wild card. This sounds terrible. I thought, Spurs have got Wolves, Forest, Everton, Southampton, Bournemouth. I thought, they might not concede a goal there. Obviously, I hope Forest score against them. And then he got dropped. So I got what I deserve for picking a Spurs player with a Forest fixture coming up, really. To be fair, I've got Kane as well. How are you feeling after hearing what Rob was saying there? It doesn't sound like a happy camp. You're optimistic at the best of times. Has that cranked it up a bit?
Yeah, I'm in danger again, and I try my hardest not to be. And it happened before West Ham, thinking, we'll get Moyes sacked, and we'll go for it, and we'll get the win. So I'm going to refrain this time, learn from errors. But it's nice to hear, isn't it? Going into a game like this, I want to hear them singing the old manager's name. Is it Poch they want now? And they do sound like they're in a right bit of a pickle. So players not on the side of him. You just hope every little thing can help us at this time of year, and just keep it coming. Keep the bad news coming out of Tottenham for us this week.
It's a bit like the West Ham game, isn't it? I think the longer it stays 0-0, the better. I mean, obviously the West Ham game fell apart after 70 minutes, but there is that prospect. You're going, obviously, but there's that prospect that crowd's going to turn because they expect top 4 football and they expect to be challenging. And they, like Rob said, they've been dumped out of the FA Cup, they've been dumped out of the Champions League, and now Liverpool are coming up on the ropes behind them. Spurs fans are going to be really, anxious and potentially angry, aren't they?
Yeah, and as much as it is quite obvious to compare it to West Ham, this is a hell of a better squad, isn't it? So with the discontent and everything, they're still going to be such more of a challenge, and maybe that might help us in a weird way. You know, a little bit more on our guards and not ready to go for it like we did with West Ham when it went so wrong. So, yeah, I just think just got to keep it close in that first half, and then see what happens, because it's going to be a massive occasion for us, huge occasion in that new stadium. And like's been said previously online recently, that we used to have some good games against Spurs. We used to have some good trips to London, and we're just waiting for that memorable game again this season, aren't we? So you never know.
Yeah, well, that was a good trip. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you say keep it close. Does keep it close to you mean keep it tight, keep it dull, or maybe go the other way? Because the way they started the West Ham game, they were so on the back foot, it really invited them on. Do you kind of wish that they go at Spurs and really test the patience of the crowd?
It depends who's available, doesn't it? I still don't think Yates is obviously going to be starting. It was incredible to see him get some minutes in, and that gives you massive hope. So we're going to have a stronger bench already if he's on it. I don't think you go for it that early on against Spurs. I do think you just keep it tight, concentrate in the middle, and obviously look out for Kane and Son at every opportunity. But yeah, I just think get into that second half with a game still to play, and we could really do something.
True. I'll put a comment up here because this person is right. Don't forget to like and subscribe, says Matt. If you're watching on YouTube, that would be a great help. And obviously, if you're on iTunes, then hang on a sec. This is my daughter who's off school. I'm just doing a video. I'll be out in 10 minutes, okay? Thank you. The hazards of parenting when kids are off. That's thrown me, that. Would you expect then... I mean, I'm not saying you necessarily want it, but would you expect Colback, Shelvey, Freuler again to be the three?
Yeah, I don't think it'll change much from the weekend, if I'm honest. Because, like the Scarpa and Danilo, I just wish we had some kind of cup run. I wish it was early in the year to get them some minutes, because they could be players, but it would be very, very risky to put them in a game like this. So I don't think he'll do that. I wouldn't be disappointed if you saw the names on the team sheet, but I don't think Steve Cooper will do that personally.
Yeah, I think you're right. It feels like he's playing. I think it feels to me like he's come to the decision like we're going to play this way, and it's not going to be particularly pretty, but this is the way I think will keep us in the Premier League. And I don't think he wants to risk Zanilo too much or Scarpa unless the game suits them. I actually think this game suits them more than the Everton games. It'll be less blood and thunder the way Spurs play. It's a bit more sit back possession based play. I mean, one player I did wonder who might start this game is Andre Ayew, because I think Cooper is obviously a fan of his. If managers have their favourites, that's fair enough. That's the way it is. What did you make of him when he came on at the weekend? Because I thought he went to the left and it let Morgan go in the middle a bit more.
I think it was the same time that Dennis came on, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, they came on.
And between them, there was a difference, but I don't know about starting him, if I'm honest. I don't think I'd give up I don't think I'd give up a Wood or someone like that at the minute to start him. I know Wood's got his stick, but maybe that big man up front, it might be the kind of game for him rather than an Ayew. So I'm not sure on that one.
How optimistic are you in terms of, I mean, this sounds stupid, in terms of actually getting a goal in this game? Does it feel like, it feels like a game where Forest can give it a good go at least this time?
It's going to come eventually, isn't it? And like I say, we've got good record against Spurs over the years. Their fans are ready to turn. They've been turning on the board all season. I don't think they've got the managers back anymore, have they? They did have for a long while, but he won't commit, so why should they? So again, I'm not going to say we're going to win and this, that, the other, because the comments don't seem to like that sometimes. But I do think that it is going to come soon. We are going to get that result, and let it be Spurs. God, my Spurs mate wouldn't hear the end of it. I can promise you that all next week.
But even if it's not Spurs, and if they do lose the game, I don't feel like they're not expected to get anything from it. You look at the other teams around, and they've got tough games this weekend. do you feel like fans just want a performance more than anything? They can't fold like they did again, can they, at West Ham?
Yeah, no, but I'd take a really terrible performance and somehow get a draw. I just think with the international break being so close now, we can't go into that international break on the amount of points we're on now. It'd be a very unsettling couple of weeks. I don't think many of us would enjoy that. So what have we got? Spurs and then Newcastle. I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's Wolves. Wolves at home straight after that, and then off to Leeds. So
it's just I don't like going into international breaks without some extra nice points, and we seem to be doing that well recently. So it'd be nice, 4 points or something from now until then.
How many points, we were talking about this on the podcast on Monday, how many points do you think is needed? Do you think it's 40 or lower?
No, it's not 40. You look at the past, it's something like 6 or 7 years. I think 29 points kept you up in 1 year. It's always 36, 37. And the way that everyone seems to be beating each other. And of course, I know it happens every year, but it seems even more so. More of the bottom teams towards the end of the season are playing each other, even down to the last day. So I do think that it's not so much the points, like we've said before, it's the amount of teams below us at the minute, and there's still a few below us, and just keep getting them when we can, keep getting the odd point away maybe, and then a big win. It's probably only going to take a couple of wins and then a good away day one day, and we're there.
Yeah, and if they do get that one win, especially if it's here, then it just takes the pressure off that home form, doesn't it? Because that Everton game, I mean, I watched it on TV. You were there, obviously, but to be in the ground, I'm surprised. Blood pressure must have been through the roof and heart rate through the roof on Sunday. Yeah,
what a weird game. I don't know whether it's Sundays. I don't know whether it's Sunday games. Just like the atmosphere didn't seem to be there. There just didn't seem to be that like energy that's usually in the City ground, and it's a real strange one. It wasn't until the last 20 minutes where it really seemed to pick up. And again, that's down to a player like Ryan Yates, who knows, he understands this crowd, and he started orchestrating it, didn't he? And it worked, and it got us going again, and we could have won it at the end. But I just think we've got to all stay together, which we've been absolutely brilliant at this season. Everyone's really on it, and just keep doing that, and we'll be fine. There's a few worse teams than us in this league, and we keep picking up the points. We'll be okay.
Just on Yates as well, like you said earlier, I know people would love him to start, but I don't think he will he? Because Cooper said after the game, I played him longer than the medical people wanted me to. He only played for like 20 minutes or so, maybe even less. I'm not sure without it to hand. So for him to play 90 minutes feels like it's a week or two too soon to you.
Yeah, I think he'll be looking at the home games to get him. Is back in the starting lineup, you'd expect, but to see him on the bench on Saturday will be a massive boost for us. It really will.
There's people in the comments. There's a couple of saying you can't have Freuler and Colback playing again together. I know we think he probably will, but do you feel like maybe a Mangala is a bit unlucky because he is a better ball carrier and a slightly better passer than, I guess it would be Colback who dropped out realistically, much as we love him, much as he's a good pro.
Yeah, Mangala's got that strength as well, hasn't he? He's got he's that bigger guy that can, maybe the Spurs players might need a little bit of bullying. They're ready to get a bit mardy, as we've talked about with Richarlison, haven't we? So I'd like to see Mangala, but he hasn't been getting the minutes, so it's a tough one, isn't it?
Would you like to see Richarlison start?
Oh yeah, I'd love to give him some stick. When your guy was saying about he's not warranted his 60 million, it seems ever since those stupid keepy uppies, he's not done anything, has he? So it'd be nice to make him look silly on Saturday.
True. I suppose the other big battle is obviously Harry Kane. I know Son's a good player, but he's not having a good season, and Kulusevski's a good player, but you kind of hope that Lodi can keep him quiet. Does it come down to Felipe versus Kane in the same way it's sort of Felipe versus Haaland, do you think?
Yeah, and look how well Felipe did against Haaland. So, Felipe versus Kane, I think so. And then Worrell there as well. Worrell's been playing a lot better, and he does, like we said before, he plays better with a more experienced centre-back alongside him. So I do think, Felipe's experienced enough to control Kane. He's played against as good a strikers as him before. I'd imagine he's played against him a few times, to be honest. So he's someone we definitely want. We've just got to, all fingers crossed. Maybe there's another defender ready on the bench for us at the weekend, or those two stay fit.
Yeah, he's a different player to Haaland, isn't he? He's going to come deeper. But I'd love to see Felipe not go through him and injure him, but show him no respect.
He's not in your FPL then.
Kane, he is actually, yeah.
Oh, right.
But from a Forest point of view, I feel like teams just stand off Kane, and refs give him a lot, but don't show him too much respect and let Felipe, because Felipe can be nasty, can't he? And I love that about him. Let's see him, because I think get about him. And do you think Forest show teams a bit too much respect, especially away from home?
Maybe away from home. Not at home. We don't. We haven't shown anyone respect at home this season. Look at your Liverpools and Chelsea's. We've gone to them. We've took them to task. And the thing I keep looking at is the Spurs 2-0 defeat. We played well. They were clapped off the pitch at the end. And then the turning point, the start of our good form that got us in the position we are now, was that League Cup game against Spurs. So I think those players, they do have some confidence against this team. And they won't, they can't wait to get down there. It's as good as playing at Wembley, that new stadium, one of the best in the world. So I'm sure they're going down there with confidence. I'm sure Steve Cooper's reminding them of the performances from the previous Spurs games. So, yeah, I think they'll be a lot less nervous than some of us are in the stands, that's for sure.
You make a good point there about that game. I'm just looking at the front three in the cup game was Lingard, Surridge, Awoniyi, and obviously in the other game it was the first time they trialled Johnson, Gibbs White, and Lingard as a three. They're quite mobile front threes, both of them. Does that maybe make you think actually it isn't a game for Chris Woods potentially?
Yeah, I was just reminded. I was talking to someone about Surridge this morning, and it's such a shame he's not getting the game time. We spoke about maybe starting. I think I'd have a more confidence seeing Surridge's name in that team sheet at the minute. I know he's not had minutes very often, but when he does play, he doesn't seem to let us down. And I've said it previously, if we are only going to have one or two chances, I'd rather his foot be on it than some of them behind him. So he could be a good option. I don't think Wood gets dropped, but if he does, then it'd be a Surridge for me.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a topic for Monday. I've kind of pre-thought of if Lingard doesn't get off the bench again, and if Surridge doesn't get off the bench again, it's kind of starting to feel like it's the end for them to me. And maybe that's a bit premature. There's still a lot of games to go, but there's a bit of a pecking order emerging here where even Dennis seems to be ahead of them. Do you think it's a bit of a crunch time now for Jesse and Sam? They need to get on the pitch, don't they?
Yeah, and they've still got a lot of years ahead of them, haven't they, playing football? So they're not going to want another season next season doing this, are they? So yeah, they'll be itching to get on that pitch, and without the cup games to give them minutes, it's going to be down to next man up, take the opportunity when it's presented to you, or if it's presented to you.
Just lastly, then, before I'll give you a chance to plug something. Heart versus head. Are Forest going to get a result? I say a result qualifies as a point or better. Are Forest going to get a result in this game?
Yeah, we'll get a score draw. How about that?
Is that hard? Is that hard?
No, I just think if we're going to play Spurs at all this season, it's the perfect time to play them. And I know people then go, "Oh God, yeah," but they'll end up 4-5-0 or what have you. But I just think it's a great opportunity for us. We're probably down on a look. One of the worst away teams in the league. I think we're third from bottom on away form. And they're looking, if it doesn't go right for them on Saturday, they change the manager. They're already looking not so much favourites for top four the way the season's, projecting now. So, why not? Score draw.
Yeah, okay. So, Heart says 1-1, Head says 2-0 Spurs, but I think Forest are going to put a performance in. I can't see it. I say that I can't see it being another West Ham. That'll come back and bite me on the arse. But I'm more confident, especially after last night for Spurs. It's just such an unhappy camp. It feels like I think they could put Conte out of a job as long as Conte doesn't go before the weekend. Like you say, the cards are falling kindly to play them at this time. So that's something. Right. Anything you want to plug before we go?
No, I was just thinking though, like Heart and Head for you. Just if anyone wants to go and check his Fantasy Premier League, then you'll see what the Head says, because I imagine he's captaining Kane and no Forest players inside.
I'm captaining even Tony because they've got 2 games. There you go.
No, I mean, this was such a last minute one, wasn't it? He caught me clearing out my garage finally, so I was doing something, if anyone asked. The Chase again, my favourite band, they released a single yesterday called, I forgot, something about the encore. You're the encore no one asked for. It's on Spotify and stuff, and they're a mega Nottingham band, and they won't get the listens or the plugs these main bands get, so it'll be brilliant to just download that and get them a few more listens and get them up the charts or whatever, because it's a brilliant song. I've been listening to it all day. So that's it. No crying this week either, so I'm all right.
Oh, yeah. People are asking after your sister. How's your sister?
Yeah, she's great. She's recovering well, and always keeping busy like she does. I tell you what, actually, before the game on, when was it, Sunday, putting out a load of flags in the seats, and a couple of people came up to me. One lad who I speak to offered, gave us a big hug, and I thought, you know what, we've got such mega support. It's great, especially being in the Premier League at the minute. So there's still some feel good and some good folk around, so I really appreciated that.
Certainly are. I don't have anything to plug. That film I recommended on Monday, I've actually had 4 or 5 people message me saying, "Oh, that was a good film." So I might come back on Monday with another one.
You got it now.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you're plugging stuff. I mean, you should be on commission for these bands. At least free tickets at worst.
I'll tell you another thing, actually. I went to the club shop earlier because I've got German friends over at the minute. Went to the Dortmund game on Tuesday, which was just unreal. Their support is incredible. But the club shop earlier, I was buying some merchandise for them. They were so helpful. Like the difference that's happening at our club at the minute. Now, the Premier League side of it, I don't know whether it's that, but they were running around everywhere. Find us the 2 things I wanted, went to the back store and got everything out. It was great. Like, different experience at the minute down the City Ground. I will say that.
Good. Last thing I was going to say was we're going to try and do a bit more with the YouTube video. I think that's the plan. Maybe post Steve Cooper's press conferences there and a few more video clips. I see Dan in the comments, who is the architect of the Vicar Fast Show LinkedIn thing. It's really stuck, has put TV show recommendation, Vicar of Dibley or Fast Show. Did you hear Temps on Monday? Did you watch Monday's podcast?
Yeah, of course. Well, I listened. I always do, obviously.
I don't think Temps does, but I don't mind. That's fine. When he called Chris Wood a minimalist footballer, I thought that not helping your reputation there.
It got questioned at the end, didn't it? It got pulled up, so that's all right.
True. Right, I'm going to end it here because my daughter's probably used to start knocking on the door or something, because that 10 minutes is long gone. So thanks for everyone who watched along as ever and commented. Do join us on Monday when we'll be back with Greg. You're on Monday, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Greg and another to be confirmed. So hopefully Forest have put up a performance, got a result, and are flying high in the Premier League after beating Spurs. In the meantime, have a good weekend, everyone, and we shall see you soon.